Alright, time for another draftphysics.com, debatephysics.com. But as stated, the debate is in a form that's just too disgusting and ugly and putrid to be worth the trouble. Speaking of Ryan Gosling, I mean, it's just such a waste of time, and yes, I want to waste time. Uh, just to shut him up. He's such an idiot. Anyway, so don't watch the video. I mean, frankly, look, there's always some good physics in all of these arguments, so it's worth talking about some of these subjects. But again, to have to talk about it in this atmosphere of this nonsense is just, you know, it's beneath human dignity. So he has, basically tried to do, in a whole bunch of these videos, the 10-ton train versus the 5-ton train kind of contest, and you and he completely failed to get the results his theory predicts, which is some evidence that the 5-ton train going 10 has twice the energy. So he can't find twice the energy, and then basically does a video saying, well, that's exactly the way it should come out. We shouldn't be able to see it. Because, because it's energy. You can't see energy. Energy doesn't create any effect. It doesn't do any work. That's not what energy is. Because it's living force. It's spiritual. Okay. Apparently. I don't know. It's just amazing. So he proves me right and then declares victory, which is hilarious. So then he goes back to this pendulum thing where, again, it's this sort of trying to prove that the law of the lever isn't a real thing. And obviously it's a real thing. And so now he's obsessing with some notion that you can rotate a wheel. Well, yeah, sure you can. You put more energy in and then gravity's not in control anymore. So the faster I spin something that's in balance, let's say, the less and less effect gravity can have, because gravity is a smaller and smaller force proportional to the force you put in. So until the force you put in wears off, gravity's not going to show much of an effect. But it will. It happens. I mean, that's why they have to balance wheels, is because they don't work right. Yeah, it's just it's just so stupid. All right, so I don't know if you can see it from this image, right? You probably can, but let's just use this one. All right, so this is his lever, right? So I talk about a balance, and this is what he does. And then he can't look at this and say, well, what's wrong with this image? Oh, the weights are hanging below the lever. So I've automatically changed how much they weigh, in a sense. I've broken the lever. Okay, I've broken the balance. Because this balance, when you put the fulcrum in the middle, okay, it means all the center of masses have to line up with that middle. That is, the center of the mass of this object has to be right through the center with this object. And obviously the center of masses don't line up. So I'll draw this in a different way just to illustrate it. Now what he does in this video is talk about the fact that he can spin it and they're both going in the same direction in terms of the rotation. It doesn't change the fact that gravity is a force diagram. You have to draw force diagrams. I know you don't know what they are, but that's what you have to do. And there's still forces acting on the system. And the whole argument being made is in the case where you have these masses where momentum says they should be, it works. And if you just put the mass where your kinetic energy says it belongs, which is here. So put this mass here and then show how it works and how it balances and how it does all that stuff. So he's showing that momentum is right. Okay, and pretending he's showing kinetic energy somewhere where obviously he's not. So do what your theory says equals equals. Your theory says it equals the same weight here. So put this weight over here and then show us how it all works. I mean, it's just amazing lying and deception and bullshit. All right, anyway. So again, I don't need two masses but torques in the same direction. It doesn't make any sense to call it the same direction. Obviously, when one is going this way, and the other one's going that way, or one's going up and one's going down. But go ahead, who cares? How is it relevant? How does that prove kinetic energy is conserved and is real, and momentum is just a funny word that people use sometime after Newton, because it was obviously quantity of motion in Newton's time. So how is quantity of motion bullshit and kinetic energy is the real deal, when you're showing exactly the opposite, that the real deal is momentum and kinetic energy is impossible to find? And again, he declares victory. In light of this illustration, he's telling us, oh yeah, I've proven my point. What point did you prove? You certainly didn't do anything to debunk anything I said. All right. So, by hanging the weights, okay, below the lever, all right, you can kind of understand, okay, that it's where these masses are. And the fact is this isn't the circle that this would make. Like, say, if you did think of this as a circle spinning on the fulcrum, you could sort of understand, okay, that this weight has to go across this line to go up. Okay, and this weight doesn't. So that's the simplest way to say it, is this one, the arc is smaller here than the arc will be here. It's more degrees of arc. Okay, this line will be bigger than this line. So you've changed this, effectively you've changed the masses, in the sense that to the velocities now will be different for the movement. So instead of being 2 to 1 in the velocities, you're now 2.2 or 1.8. You're short of the velocity, or you're too fast. So now these two weights don't balance. All right, and that's why they end up oscillating. Okay, it's because you unbalance them by not having the center of the mass even with the fulcrum, where you could go center of mass, fulcrum, center of mass, straight line. That's what you need to do for this not to oscillate. It will oscillate if you do this, which is breaking it, in the sense that it's more energy one way than it is energy the other way. All right. So it's such an obvious, fact. And again, so why are you doing this experiment with the momentum proportions? So he's putting the two mass here. Okay, here's the fulcrum. He's putting the two mass here. All right, and he's putting the one mass here, two distances, when he should be putting the one mass somewhere here. This is KE. This is where KE says you've got it right, 1.4 or something like that. Okay, so that's where KE says the two sides have the same energy when it's moving. So put the weights on and see what happens. And obviously what's going to happen is this is going to swing down and that's going to swing up, and it won't balance in any position, because this will obviously have more momentum. All right, because you've created two circumstances where the velocity and mass of one object's not going to equal the velocity and mass of the other objects, clearly. And so it's not going to be a balance anymore. It's not going to balance anymore. It's not going to oscillate. It's not going to do any of those things. Demonstrating that your theory of what equals what is wrong. And this simple mechanical device for comparing two weights, okay, how much gravity creates in terms of how much force is collected by an object. That's what the scale is showing you, the mass, because it's showing you how much force the thing collects. And it's showing you right on the scale. And the scale clearly says your kinetic energy theory is incorrect. Okay. This doesn't equal that. Alright. Do I need to say? No, I don't really need to say much more. So that's what all, he's made, 10 videos. It's all based on this perversion. So I made a video about an actual balance, okay, one that forces the two objects to always go for the neutral position. And what does he do? He makes a contrivance where he breaks the whole point, which is to keep everything equal, okay, and creates a broken lever and pretends that that's telling a better truth. And then talks about rotation as if it means something. Rotating it is taking gravity out of the equation. It's, it's not showing you anything. And we know that, like I said, we know wheel balancing is a real thing. So what's your argument? Yeah, if I balance a wheel, if my job is, okay, I'm at the balancing wheel store, and I actually did this job, frankly. I actually balanced wheels, okay? Just a fact. And and the whole idea is to sit there and basically just create the lever, and I have to use the math of momentum, because your kinetic energy theory isn't going to balance the wheel. It's just the truth. So I don't know, what are you arguing? What's your great defense of kinetic energy? I can't use it to balance a wheel. I can't move anything. I can't collect it anywhere. And you're telling me I have to believe, and then you're going to make videos where you do all this rhetoric. So this video I directed at you, okay. But I'd rather not talk to you. So just make your physics videos as independent objects where you're claiming something, and just keep me the fuck out of your videos, because I find it's so disgustingly offensive to have a complete moron tell you must believe what they say. I mean, come on. It's I find it an indignity I don't have to suffer. Okay, so if you're going to keep doing it, I won't suffer it. It's that simple. Okay, I've told you before. I've in every way told you that these arguments are going to end because you can't make them in any kind of rational way. You can't do physics, all right? And all you do is rhetoric, and it's garbage, and it's nonsense. So when you prove the law of the lever, how do you win? And then when you prove that a 5-ton train, a 10-ton train, there's no evidence that one of them has more energy, how the fuck is that a win for your side? I mean, you know how it's just so disgusting to have somebody sit there and pretend they just proved the opposite point, and then they're going to pretend that's evidence for their side? I mean, it's disgusting. All right, anyway, enough of a video. But it's just junk. You can't think through something before he says it. It's all so reckless and sloppy. Damn. Well, nobody's rewarding him for the last video. I don't think he's got any comments on it. So, because what's the point? He's thumbing up himself. He's saying, "Look, we win." There's no evidence of kinetic energy. Huge victory for our side, isn't it? It's just so. What the fuck? All right. So let's see if there's any comments here. No. So none of his little clan have chimed in to say, "Great video. Yeah, you really proved kinetic energy's a thing by proving that it's invisible." Of course it's invisible. It's the invisible man energy. Oh, crap. So just garbage. So anyway, enough of a video. Oh, God, I just hate this planet.